As stated in the Truth Part 2, it is the absence of transparency and accountability and not hard work which is responsible for issues plaguing Nigeria. The fifth schedule, Code of Conduct of Public Servant, is highlighted in Section 66, 107, 172, 173, 209, 292, and 318 of the Constitution. The acting president admitted that public servants, particularly the executive, judiciary, and legislative arm, are the group of people who have the special burden of providing and preparing for the future. But this can only be achieved by ensuring that the provisions enshrined within the Constitution are upheld. To echo what was written in the post titled The Nigerian Constitution Simplified, solution profile outside the Constitution will never work. A constitution is a system of fundamental principles according to which a nation, state, corporation, or the like is governed. Nigeria to a large extent has a good constitution, but why are the provisions enshrined within not being upheld, particularly by the executive, legislative, and judiciary who bears that special burden? It was argued by Robert Clark in an interview given on Channels Television and others that the Constitution with Amendment 2011 created more problems for Nigeria and is responsible for the state of reproach that the nation is in today. Until proven otherwise, there is an assumption that this argument is based on Part 1, Paragraph 14, AB of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, which exempts members of the legislative houses from provisions of Paragraph 4, 1A and B. A public officer shall not, after his retirement from public service and while receiving pension from public funds, accept more than one remuneration position as chairman, director, or employee of A company owned or controlled by the government, or B, any public authority. And paragraph 11.1. Subject to the provisions of this Constitution, every public officer shall within 3 months after the coming into force of this Code of Conduct or immediately after taking office and thereafter, A, at the end of every 4 years, and B, at the end of his term of office, submit to the Code of Conduct Bureau a written declaration of all its properties, assets, and liabilities, and those of his unmarried children under the age of 18. To put this into perspective, the former governor, Bukola Saraki, a retired public officer who is now the Senate President, is exempted among others. As a result, he is in receipt of a pension as a former governor which is estimated in the region of 6 million a year, totaling to approximately 36 million in 6 years, in addition to his current salary and emolument as a Senate President since 2011 to date. In addition to members of the legislative houses being exempt from key provisions of the Constitution, they also have at their discretion the power to exempt certain individuals. In other words, they are protected and they can choose individuals to protect as well. Is there any wonder why such positions in the government are coveted? Holding such a position easily leads to the defraud of the nation and evasion of justice. The AP signed the executive order on the provision of transparency and efficiency in the business environment, May 18, 2017. Why not promote the same in government? The government has a role to ensure fairness to all, but how would that be possible when the National Assembly is not only exempted but also have the power to exempt individuals from key provisions of the Constitution? The Constitution should be a safety net for all without prejudice or bias. Justice should be blind. As stated in Section 14.2a, under the Fundamental Objective and Directive of State Policy, it is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the nation of Nigeria, from whom government, through this constitution, derive all its powers and authority. Fellow Nigerians, from the above one can understand why the Constitution with Amendment 2011 is frowned upon. You will agree that this is not democracy, but demonstration of madness, the highest form of insanity. Nevertheless, we have none but ourselves to blame, because we gave this special group the power through the Constitution. So not until the citizens rise up and demand that the AP repeal this exemption, we will be running in circles. This madness is further celebrated by the present culture in Nigeria, where individuals guilty of defrauding the nation are given chieftaincy titles, positioned in our religious and secular organizations, among other things. We need to start acknowledging that some of our accepted culture, tradition is damaging to our faith and dignity, and start to shape our lives accordingly. On May 7, 2017, there was a bill to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria and for related matters in an attempt to ensure transparency and accountability in the operations of the banking sector. This was deliberated and is subject to approval by the National Assembly, a typical example of the pot calling the kettle black. In his book titled The Man Dies, Wole Soyinka stated that the man dies in all who keep silent in the face of tyranny. Many Nigerians are afraid to stand up for the truth. We live in fear of being persecuted, particularly those living in abroad. Some of those living abroad think the issues of Nigeria does not concern them. But think again. Most are reluctant to travel home, citing bad government, lack of electricity, security, so on and so forth. Why not get involved and be a part of this solution for change so that traveling home will be a pleasure and not a burden? It does not matter where you are. Fear enslaves. It gives the tormentor the power they do not have. When the people fears the government, there is tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there is liberty. The question posed here is, how can the government fear the people when they keep silent and act cowardly? Change does not happen on its own. You are encouraged to sign up for a better tomorrow for Nigeria via our website and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Let us make history happen.